Okay. Intro to episode 3, take 3.
Take 3.
Okay. Rundown of all the things we've said so far that we now cannot use. It's snowing in both cities.
That's the first one. Very exciting.
Very. We've successfully made it. Yes, we're enjoying tea. We're recording our third episode. I just realized I didn't move all of the trash next to me. But at this point,
we can't go back now.
I don't think we can go back now. So you know what, everybody who listens to this and watches this, which is basically just Brandon and Mom, I think, I move the junk in my bedroom every week before we record the podcast, and I just didn't do that this week. So you get the pile of crap. Welcome to real life.
Real life.
Real life. Okay. Well, this is the Sister Knitting Society podcast.
And I'm Grace.
And I'm Elizabeth. And I guess we should just get going because I don't think there's any saving.
We're not, you can't salvage this. We got
no, it's fine. So yes, this is episode 3. We decided that there's not really that much else exciting to tell you about us in our little intros. So now we're trying to think of other things to talk about. So this week we decided, since we are recording this on January 31st, that maybe we would talk about our knitting related goals for February, because it's a new month tomorrow and it's a short month. But that means we can still have goals. So anyway, Grace, what are your goals for February?
My goals for February are to finish my Hibernation house socks. That's actually more of a this week goal, but February is this week, so we're getting there. And then I want to start and finish my first pair of socks for the Handmade Sock Society from Helen Stewart. So she'll release the first pattern on February 4th, and I'm hoping to get it done within the month so that I'll be ready for the next pattern. I also want to cast on a cowl with the yarn that you got me for Christmas, which looks like this. It'll be a good, still wintry weather cowl, but kind of like spring transition. So I like the colors for this time of year. And then my last goal is to buy a ball winder in Swift, because I need to wind this yarn and I really don't want to do it 100% by hand. So good goals, fair. I think.
Those are good goals. My goals for this month, oh my gosh, I'm really struggling today apparently. My goals for this month are primarily finished things. So I want to finish Elliot's sweater. I said last week that I wanted to finish that by the end of the month, but I think I really underestimated how much was left of the month, and there is no way that I'm getting those done today. So my goal, I want to finish it by the end of February, hopefully by the middle of February, because I'm almost done with the body. I just have to do the sleeves, so we'll talk about that later. I also want to finish up my test knit for Alicia Plummer. She doesn't have a hard deadline. She just said she'd release it once most of the testers were done, but there's already one person who's all the way done in our test group, and I'm still on the yoke. So I definitely want to get that done by the end of the month. And I also want to finish my second Gerste sock and cast on another one. So I have this kind of back of my mind goal that I'd like to knit 12 pairs of socks this year, a pair a month. So I have one pair already for January. So I'm hoping that I can get that one done and then cast on another one so that I have my February socks done.
I like the 12 pairs of socks for the year idea. That's fun.
Yeah, we'll see if I can keep up. I mean, I'm not hardcore after it, but I always have socks on my needles anyway, so I might as well try to knit a pair a month. I have so many in my queue and that I've bought yarn for. Yeah, I could definitely knit 12 pairs of socks with only what's in my stash. So
might as well try.
I will try. So yeah, hopefully gonna get another pair of socks cast on this month. And that's my goal.
Yay.
Hooray. And neither of us have any finished objects this week.
We were so ahead of the game last week that we just couldn't deliver again this week. We couldn't have more FOs.
Oh my goodness. My child is currently outside in the snow with no coat and no shoes. She is completely barefoot. She just ran back inside. We joke that she's like an Elsa baby, like the cold doesn't bother her, although she's proved us wrong. She's like cried twice today because she's gone out in the snow and like played with it with her bare hands, and then she cries because her hands are cold. Like, yes.
Cause and effect, sister.
Snow is cold. So the adventures of a 4-year-old learning not to run outside barefoot in the snow. That's what's happening right now.
We'll get there.
My husband's on duty. I promise I'm not just abandoning her to go run barefoot through the snow. He is tending to her. I can hear it. I just didn't want anyone to think I'm like a bad mom.
I don't think
anyway. Okay, well, I'm sorry for that distraction, but that seems to be the name of the game today.
We're just not on it.
It's fine. We can't be on it every week.
We can't.
That's an unreasonable expectation. Yeah, that's your name. Okay, so no finished objects this week. I do have a half finished object, so I'll start with that on our like whips section.
Yay!
I finished one of my Gerste socks. So these are in the backcountry knitter yarn. The colorway is called Native Wildflower. And so it's really pretty. It's got these like browns and greens and like some random pops of like pink and yellow. And the texture on these is really pretty. I definitely need to work on my German short row heel technique. I really liked doing this heel, but I definitely have a lot of gaps. So
that's frustrating.
That's yeah, I mean, I don't
learning
do
experience. It's nice to grow in that.
Yeah. And I don't usually do toe-up socks, so I tried a new bind-off that seems to be stretchy enough. I think it's called the Russian bind-off, maybe. I don't know. I Googled best bind-offs for toe-up socks, and I went with whatever I found. But I like it. Like you bind it off in pattern, so it looks really nice. I've not cast on the second one yet because I've been knitting away on sweaters. So that's what I've been. That's my first whip.
Yay!
Should I go through all of mine, or do we want to like alternate?
I can do one. I only have 2 whips total though, so.
Well, I only have 2 more, so then we'll just go back
great.
That'll be fine.
Perfect. Okay, my current whip of socks that have been the same whip for many weeks. My Hibernation house socks, but I'm finally done with the cuff, which is so exciting because it's the hardest part of the sock. And basically what you do is you knit 6 inches and then fold it up and knit the cast on edge with your active stitches, which is so frustrating but so worth it because it turns out so pretty. So I've got this part finished, and then I still got to work my heel and my gusset and the instep, but that should not take long. So I'm feeling confident that I can get them done this week. And that's it. Yay. That's it for that one.
Okay, so my next one I'll show you is Elliot's sweater, because you guys have seen that one before. And I actually made a lot of progress on this past week. So I moved my little stitch marker after we recorded last time. So my stitch marker is all the way up here. So I've done this much of the body since last week. So I think I did decide I'm going to knit it a little bit longer than the pattern calls for, just because she's so tall. So it calls for, I think, 15 inches from the middle of the neckline to the bottom before you start the ribbing. So I'm going to do 16. And then it's like, then we do the ribbing at the bottom. So I think I'm like maybe 1.5 to 2 inches away from being at the 16 inches and starting the ribbing. So definitely planning on finishing the body of that this week and getting one sleeve picked up and going, because this is a really easy like knit round and round and round and round and not have to think about it. So it's a good like movie night knit.
Agreed.
Which is basically
I love ones like that. Yeah.
So that's this
COVID
one.
life, but also that's the life we live every day.
Yes. And then, I didn't say this is Anker sweater by Petite Knit. And it's knitting it in Cascade 220 Superwash in the Tuffet colorway. That's that one.
It's pretty. I like it.
Thanks.
All right, my other whip is, we talked last week about how I was having a crisis with this jewel tone Malabrigo Rios. And I decided for sure we're doing a Garnered Cardi by Alicia Plummer. So I cast it on and I got some of it done this week. It's really, I'm working the back of it right now because that's where as you start in the pattern. I'm actually liking it more than I thought I would. I think it looks pretty with these jewel tones. And I like how this kind of thick, warmer yarn looks with all of this lace work in it. So I'm into it. And I like the lace pattern. It's really fun to work. I saw a tip on the knit along. She's doing a knit along for it, and it ends in mid-April. So I'm not trying to rush a whole lot on this project. I'm kind of hoping to bask in it a little while until the end of the official knit along, but I do kind of want to finish by the deadline. But I was having so much trouble in the beginning with getting my pattern repeats right. I would finish the section where the lace work was, and then I would have like 2 extra stitches, and I was like, gosh, now I have to go back and count all the stitches and where I went wrong. And someone on the Ravelry group chat discussion was like, oh, I had the same problem and all I did was just put in stitch markers where the pattern repeats were. And I thought, oh my gosh, I never think to do those kind of things unless it's written in the pattern. I don't like to take a lot of initiative with knitting patterns, I guess. But I mean, that single comment, I was like, that's so smart. I should do that. So I haven't worked on it since then, but I think I'm going to put in a bunch of stitch markers so I stop screwing up on the lace, because I get distracted and something happens on the Great British Bake Off that I'm watching, and I got to make sure I see how beautiful that cake is. And there we are. So I'm going to definitely take up putting markers in where my pattern repeats are going to be. And I'm really liking it so far. It's a fun little pattern to work.
Yeah. I like how the yarn's working up in it too. I think that'll be a pretty topper. What'd you call it last week? Finishing piece.
Finishing piece.
I like it. It'll be pretty. Right,
Thank you.
One more like active whip, and this is gonna also go into like the acquisition section. So this is we are allowed to talk about it, so it's good. This is the CQ sweater that I'm test knitting for, also for Alicia Plummer. And it's a circular yoke raglan colorwork sweater. She has an option to do either short sleeves or like a 5/8 sleeve, which I'm really excited about because that is like my ideal sleeve length. And so if you remember last week in the acquisitions section, I had gone to Black Sheep, my LIS, and Verena, the owner or co-owner, had helped me put together a beautiful combination of yarn. I was so excited, and I swatched it, and I was like, I'm not sure if I love this dark green, but like, I think it'll be fine. We'll start. And I even texted you like for confirmation. And I think the fact that I texted for confirmation probably should have been my first gut feeling that maybe something wasn't all the way right. So I cast on the sweater. And so the colors that I wasn't happy with, or that I'm going to end up being unhappy with, were the coordinating colors 1 and 2. But you actually start with like 3 and 4 are the first ones you work into the pattern. And I loved them. I was like so in love with how it was looking. And then I got to coordinating color 1 and 2. And I did like 2.5 rows with like the dark green. And I hated it. I didn't hate the yarn. It just wasn't the right color for that sweater. It's beautiful on its own, but it looked like a little too Christmassy green, and then everything else was like springy pastel, and I just didn't love it. So I went back to Black Sheep yesterday, and I looked around, and I found a solution. So this is currently what my sweater looks like. There's all these ends to weave in. So I'm still on the yoke but it's got these like dots that I have in these like pinks. And then the main stripes are purple and this blue. And so
That
now I'm
blue
back
is
on the next like
gorgeous with the
dot
purple.
section. It's so pretty. And I just felt like it was like a little bit more springy, a little more like fresh looking. And with the ivory, that's really what I wanted. Sorry, here's the front of this one. So I'm working through the yoke charts still. I'm still really loving it. I'm really happy with the purple. I think that it pulls like the different shades of like the painted sky, which is this first like dot thing. Like I love how the purple plays with that. So I'm so much happier with this now. And I think I mentioned last week too that like one of my like kind of unwritten goals for the year is that I want to knit more garments that I actually want to wear. And I think if I'd just toughed it out with the green, I would never have actually worn this sweater. So, yeah, I'm really happy with it. So the yarn I ended up getting, I brought the ball bands over so I wouldn't forget. This purple is, where's my ball band? This one is Swan's Island yarn. It's made in Maine. It's 100% organic merino, and the colorway is vintage lilac. So this is like a Grace color.
It's definitely
if there ever was one.
I love it.
And then the other color I got, I actually somehow I ended up, where are you? Somehow I ended up accidentally cutting the yarn when I was winding it. So I have two little balls of this, but I figure it's a colorwork sweater, so it doesn't really matter. So this one, this is the tinier of the two balls that I wound of it. So this is Sheepy Time yarns, which I think is just fun to say.
Aww.
And this is 100% BFL. And it's called Special Snowflake.
What's BFL? I've never heard that before.
Blue-faced Leicester. So it's a breed of sheep. But I love,
it's pretty.
I really love this one. So the shades of like darker blue and teal in there, like you can probably see some of the darker ones. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with this. I like the springy feel of it. So I'm a lot happier with it now.
Yay! I'm glad. They're pretty.
So that's my last whip and my first acquisition. I'm starting to feel like because I've had like acquisitions every week that I might have a yarn buying problem.
No, it's not a problem until you don't have anything to knit.
Right. So this was clearly bought specifically for the project, and I was able to exchange one of the skeins of Rios because I hadn't caked it up yet. So that made it a little bit kinder on my wallet. I still have the one that I've already caked up, so I don't know what I'll make with that yet, but we'll find something because it's beautiful. I'm also a little bit nervous because for the size I'm knitting, I need 250 yards of this purple, and and the ball band and they only had one skein of this. It was like on the little like last chance for hand dyes shelf. And the ball band says approximately 250 yards. So I have no wiggle room. Alicia says that she's very, I know, I'm a little nervous. Alicia says she's very generous with yarn estimates on her patterns. And you said you had like a whole ball left over from your test knit for her. So I am praying that I have enough. But I'm also
you will.
I'm also like not cutting this yarn, and I'm just like carrying it up because I feel like I'll use less that way, even though I might have to be carrying it up for a while. So I'm very nervous.
It's gonna be fine. It's gonna look beautiful.
I hate yarn chicken. It's my least favorite game.
Yeah. It's scary.
So we may be knitting the sleeves like two at a time and then just deciding like so that I can just use up all the yarn. Yeah. And yeah, we might be doing that so that I can use every last bit of it. It's fine. Everything's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be totally fine.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, all that being said, Grace, I'm going to need you to have some acquisitions next week so that I don't look like I'm insane.
Okay,
go
I will
some
have
yarn,
some
please.
acquisitions next week.
Because I have one more.
Yes, I have no acquisitions this week, so we get to just go through with all of Elizabeth's. And I get to live vicariously through your acquisition.
Yes. So the other one I bought, I actually forgot that I ordered.
The best kind of yarn surprise.
Yes, so I got an email that said your order has shipped, and I was like, what order is this? And then I remembered that I ordered the book club yarn from Long Dog Yarns, and I've never ordered her yarn before. I honestly never even heard of her before until somebody shared that she was doing a Wuthering Heights themed yarn. And if you watched episode 1 of the podcast, you know that that's my favorite book in the whole wide world. So of course I bought the Wuthering Heights yarn, but of course we had no idea what it would look like because it's a mystery club. So we had like the inspiration photo, which was like this gorgeous moody picture of like the Yorkshire moors, and you have the book as inspiration, and you just order it and hope for the best. And I don't usually like surprises, but this was the absolute best one. So I actually FaceTimed Grace when I got home and I saw that it was on the counter. And I needed her to like be present with me while I opened it because I was like, well, what if I hate it? But it turns out that I don't hate it. In fact, I actually really, really like it.
So pretty.
So this is what we got. So it's this like gorgeous like forest green with like blues that remind me of like a pretty lake or a river, and it's got like the really dark blue speckles in it, and it's so pretty. I'm obsessed, like totally obsessed. So so we got this, and this is the Wuthering Heights yarn, and then it also came with fun stuff. So we have a sticker that has the best quote from Wuthering Heights, which is whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same. And then a package of tea. So this is a black tea with citrus peel, blue cornflower petals, and Italian bergamot oil. So I'm very much looking forward to trying this. But I haven't opened it yet because I wanted to show it on the podcast. So I'm not drinking it today. I'm drinking chai. So those are my acquisitions. I'm going to try really hard not to buy any yarn this week because.
Do you have any plans for your Wuthering Heights? Are you inspired by anything for it?
I don't know yet. I may just do vanilla socks with them and do like a contrasting heel toe cuff. I have just like a plain like white that I think would make the colors in the actual yarn stand out really nicely. But I know I might also look for some like basic like texture socks. The yarn's just so pretty that I don't want to overwhelm with like too fancy of a pattern. So we'll see. I'm really excited though. I also might, I mean, it is proper sock yarn. It has nylon in it. So of course, my first thought was socks, and especially because I wear my hand knit socks all the time. I'm wearing my Spruces socks today. But I also think like it might be beautiful in like a shawl or a cowl. So, I might just hold on to it for a while and let it sit on my shelf and make me smile until like the perfect thing pops up. So
it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, those are my acquisitions.
Yay. I feel like I'll make some soon. I have plans to torture myself and make a solid black cardigan. So I'm going to Old Town Alexandria next weekend, which is where my LYS is. And I have to go there because I am touring new apartments because I'm going to move soon. And I have plenty of time between appointments for tours, so I might as well stop by Fiberspace and just see what's there. So we might leave with sweater quantity of a nice black yarn. And then it'll take me the rest of the year to make it because knitting with black yarn is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, you're only going to be able to like do it during daylight.
Yeah. with extra lights all over.
With extra lights, yeah. It'll be beautiful though. Do you have a pattern picked out for it?
I don't have the name of it right now. I think it's Fanel, Fanel. It's by, her Instagram account is at Tetbesh, like in French, TETE _ I think, BECHE. But it's just a really nice, like, basic looking cardigan, and I've seen other people tag it and say that they're wearing it, and it looks very nice and put together with like work outfits basically, and that's why I would want it. So hopes up that I can find some nice yarn, maybe with something like silk or cashmere in it, just to make it something that would really last and be sustainable and worth making a black sweater. So that's on the to-do list.
Yeah, nobody knits a black sweater just for like kicks and giggles,
just for fun.
I take that back. Somebody might really love it with black. And as someone who wears a lot of black, I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
I just don't think I'd want to knit with it.
It's tough. Never done it. But I did do on Brandon's simple skip socks that I made him for Christmas. The yarn that I used, the BB8 from Haverland, it was orange, white, gray, and then there was black in it. And so every time I was doing the little black section of self-striping, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the worst. I could not do it. And that was like a nice sport weight. It worked up pretty quick. So
yeah,
get down to like a fingering or a DK, we're going to be in trouble. But we're going to power through.
I believe in you.
Thanks. I don't know if I do.
All right. Do you have any shout outs this week?
I do. Speaking of cardigans, my knitting related shout out this week is for Kindred Red. That's her Instagram account and her Ravelry tag. Her name, I think, is Amalia, which is a name that oddly both of us are obsessed with. Don't know her last name. She hasn't listed on her Ravelry or Instagram, but I saw this week they released the patterns that are, or some of the patterns that are going to be in the next edition of Pom Pom, which Elizabeth got me for my birthday last year, a subscription to it. And so, of course, I follow Pom Pom, and I'm excited when the patterns come out and they show us what's going to be in the next edition. And they released that this designer is making, or is releasing, the Crux cardigan, and the pictures of it, I just died. It's so beautiful. I want to make it in the exact same yarn she used. Like, I don't want to make any modifications to this thing. It's gorgeous. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to make it. So once Pom Pom comes, I'm gonna have a bunch of acquisitions because I've got to get all the yarn for that project. It's gonna be so beautiful. She made it with these really pretty pastels, and it's inspired by quilted fabrics. So it's just stunning, and it's not black.
So pretty.
It's all pastels.
It's not black. No, that one's so pretty. I've been
thinking about it all week, so I had to give it a shout out.
Yes. Okay, so my knitting related shout out this week is to Natasha of Northern Knits and Pearl. That's her Instagram name. So she posted the other day that she was going to start like keeping kind of a photo journal of all of the projects she works on over 2021. So like at the end of the month, she takes a picture of everything that she was knitting on during the month. So not just finished objects, but like all her works in progress. And I thought that was really fun. And, you know, sometimes I think we get caught up in like what we finished and we kind of forget like about all the other things that we've worked on. So I decided I was going to do the same thing. So I posted on my account my picture of all the things that I've worked on in January. And I was like surprised at how many things there were. I had like, you know, the pair of socks I'm wearing, my other socks. I had, you know, the wrap, the scrappy blanket, both sweaters, the hat that I finished at the beginning of the month. And I just thought that was really fun. So I'm gonna take her hashtag or whatever and start contributing to that once a month because I think that that's really fun. So the hashtag is, what is it? I wrote it down. This month Yeah, this month knits 2021. So if you feel inspired to join in, I think that it's going to be really fun just to see what everybody's working on and how things grow and how things change and what we get done in 2021. So that's my knitting related shout out. Thanks, Natasha, for the cool idea.
That is a good idea. I like it. And the pictures looked really cute. You're good at styling your pictures, so.
Thanks. This is my kitchen floor, aka the only clean floor in my house right now.
Take what you can get.
It was that or the tile in the bathroom, and I felt like the wood floor in the kitchen looked a little bit better. So.
Right on.
It's fine.
Okay, non-knitting related shout outs. The other thing I've been obsessed with this week, and by obsessed, I mean I've like listened to it a couple times. I haven't finished it yet, is the Rabbit Hole podcast by the New York Times. It's a podcast about how social media has basically enabled far-right extremism and encouraged it, and just kind of the journey that people, or it's the story of one guy really, and the journey he went on where he was just watching YouTube videos and he found himself being like a member of the alt-right and believing in the ideals that they have, which both of us don't agree with at all.
Not at all.
But I've just been really fascinated by the whole idea of it for kind of a while, since like the beginning of the pandemic, and people started like putting into the mainstream these ideas about the coronavirus being fake and about 5G causing it for a couple weeks. That was a thing. And like all of this crazy stuff that I just like,
the hospital boats being like
like ways for saving trafficked children. Like there's so much like beyond my understanding that I really am interested in trying to delve into and figure out how social media enabled it. Because as much as I believe that the rhetoric that our former president encouraged enabled that like behavior, and of course the attack on the Capitol, I just think like there's so much that goes into it, and social media plays a big role in the fact that people felt not only safe to do that, but like they want, like it wasn't just like, oh, that seems like a fun idea, why don't we participate? Like you really do believe this kind of stuff in your heart if you're gonna go for it and attack the Capitol and make death threats against people. So it's been enlightening to listen to, and the reporting is really well done. And regardless of what you believe about the partiality of the New York Times, I think it's worth a listen just to see kind of that perspective on the impact social media is having on people, and also have it directly related to the QAnon conspiracy theory, because there's a lot of people in this country who believe in that and who are encouraging other people to believe in that. And it's nice to have an understanding of how it happens so that you can potentially talk to people if they're trying to get you to believe that too, and try to communicate with them in a more reasonable and understanding way, and not just saying you're stupid and shut it down. So yeah, it has. I'm like crazy. Halfway through the podcast. I'm not even totally done with it, but it's like 8 episodes and they're not that long.
And we've seen people, I mean, throughout the pandemic, like get more and more extreme into it.
Yeah.
And tried to like intervene when we felt like there was an opening to have rational conversation about it. But it is so insane how social media has just enabled that and then become such an echo chamber.
Yeah.
You know, like you
and just skyrocketing it to take it from like, oh, I don't believe X, Y, and Z to public health is a joke is like, I can't even handle it. It's so crazy. You have to laugh at it, but also people are dying,
but also it's terrifying.
Yeah, and it's terrifying.
It's absolutely terrifying. Well, my shout out that's not knitting related is a much lighter note. So I felt like we needed to balance it out here. So back, I don't know, it was like several months ago, our parents got YouTube TV. They canceled their their cable and they got YouTube TV, and they discovered the Tastemade channel on YouTube TV. So I don't know if it's actually on cable or like I have not had cable in, I don't know, probably at least 5 years. Like it's been a long time since I had cable. But but we of course now have the login to YouTube TV, and they found this Tastemade channel, and they found this TV show called Alice in Paris. Now this is not the one show that was like somebody's name in Paris. It was like really popular on Netflix for a while. I don't even remember what it was. This is
Emily in Paris.
Emily in Paris. Okay, so it's not Emily in Paris. I don't even know what that show is about. But Alice in Paris is this delightful show about a girl who has the equivalent of perfect pitch, but for food. So she has, they call it absolute taste, and she apparently can identify any ingredient in any food. And so she moves to Paris. She moves in with her sister Elsa, and they have all these just like ridiculous shenanigan adventures, and it is just delightful. The like the photography in it is beautiful, so you get to see all these different parts of Paris. You get to kind of explore all these different restaurants and types of food with her. She goes other places too, so she goes to like different places in the south of France. There was just an episode where she was like skiing in the Alps, and she accidentally found like a liquor vault. Like it's so cute and delightful, and it's not real. I think our parents might have thought it was real, but it's not. It's fiction. But you watch it and you're like, it could be somebody like exaggerating their actual life. But it's just so cute. It's really beautiful, and I want to go. I haven't been traveling in a very long time, but as a child, my parents took me to France, and I loved it, and I would really like to go back. And especially now that I've watched some of this show, I have several places that I would like to visit specifically in France. So different like coffee shops and bakeries and butcher shops and markets and all these. The food is just amazing in this show. So I highly recommend Alice in Paris if you get the Tastemade channel, or if you can figure out where to find it elsewhere, because it's really cute. Also, her hats are amazing. I want every single one of her hats, because cute Parisian fashion is never wrong.
Never.
So, and she has amazing
good ones. They've been recommending that show to both of us for definitely months. Like almost every time I talk to one of them, it's like, have you watched Alice in Paris yet? And I still haven't, but I'm glad you did.
So cute. I was going to talk about our other favorite show this week, but I might save that for next week. It can be our teaser. Because I think I'm going to watch it.
That's a good one. It's so fun. Some good shows out there. This world is full of good creators. Okay. Shall we introduce our new segment of our show?
Yes, we should introduce our new segment.
We have a new part that we want to add into the show. Not every week, because we don't always want to be moaning about different things, but we want to introduce a part called Things That Bug Us. So when something stood out to me this week as confusing me to the point of like anger, that that I just had to share with the world because it's driving me nuts. So my thing that bugs us for the week is using every day as a descriptor for a group of people. I think it's ridiculous. Okay, so I've heard it on the news this week, and I've heard it in a book. I'm reading the book Next Year in Havana by Chanel Clayton, and during the book, one of the characters is talking to another, and he says, oh, this is how everyday Cubans have to get their food. And then I heard it on the news, and it said everyday Americans are struggling with paying their rent during the pandemic, which, duh. I mean, like millions of people are out of jobs or have taken pay cuts. Of course, everyday Americans are struggling to pay the rent. It drives me crazy because it strikes me as very classist, and it's someone of a higher status or authority telling you, the viewer or the listener or the reader, what an everyday person's life is like. If you're going to call it everyday Americans, just take out the everyday or use a better descriptor. If you want to talk about middle-class Americans, you can call them middle-class Americans. If you want to talk about Americans of color, you can say Americans of color are having X, Y, or Z issue or benefit. Whatever it is, every day is not a good descriptor for a group of people. Yeah, it really offends me if you're, and then, yeah. And what if someone called you an everyday American? Oh, Elizabeth is just an everyday American. That is so rude. Can you imagine if someone called you an everyday American? You're not some average run-of-the-mill human being. You're amazing.
I am special. I am special, gosh darn it.
Oh, Joe Schmo over there is just an everyday American. What does that even mean?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Nuts.
And as your friendly
American, so I can call people everyday Americans. Oh, those everyday Americans down there.
As your friendly neighborhood person with an English degree, I can confidently stand behind the statement, find a better adjective. Not that hard.
It's ridiculous.
Okay.
What's yours?
So my thing that bugs me this week, I'm not going to name names or give a specific example because I don't know. I don't think the person that made me think this will ever watch this, but it is a universal thing. Please watch your language in front of children. Like, if you can't code switch and not drop the F-bomb 4 times in a sentence when there are like small children present, then that tells me a lot about you as a person. I was in a situation this week where somebody was around small children, not my small child, and actually dropped an F-bomb 4 times before that person noticed that there were children present. And that really bugged me. Like, you're an adult, you can say what you want, but like, you don't know how that, child's parent talks in front of them or whatever. So that just really bugs me, especially as a parent. Like, I've been known to slip up. Like, we all do. It's fine. Like, we're not going to scar our children indefinitely for like accidentally saying a bad word in front of them. But know your audience.
But try. Yeah.
Read the room. Try. Just try. That's it. And if you do mess up, just be like, oh, I'm so sorry, and then fix it. Like, don't keep doing it. And that's all I have to say. Code switch in front of your children, please. Not even your children, any children.
Any child.
That's it. That's what bugs me.
It's a good one.
Okay, I feel better now.
See, it's nice to get it off your chest.
It is. Please tell us your things that bug you in the comments, and then you'll feel better.
Yes.
It's like those Instagram things where people are like, tell me your secrets, and you'll just feel better. And then everybody gets to watch the tea unfold. That's a fun thing. I also like secondary non-knitting related shout out to people who do secrets on Instagram stories because I think they're fun.
They're fun.
Yeah, I sent you that one that made me go, yeah, it's funny. All right, let's do top 3. We have a fun one this week.
We do have a fun one. Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Or should I?
Okay, I'll go first. So our top 3 this week is the top 3 vacations that we've ever been on. So like we just started randomly talking about vacations earlier this week, and I said this would be a fun top 3 to do. So I did choose ones that had happened fairly recently. Like I didn't count going to Paris as a child. So we talked about that earlier. So ones that like I either planned myself or have gone on as a grown adult. So in 3rd place, I have the trip. My husband and I took a road trip while I was very newly pregnant with Elliot. And we like called it kind of a baby moon, but it's not like the corny baby moon, you know what I mean? Like we did a road trip. We went and saw cool places. So we drove through upstate New York, which was that's probably why the trip is number 3 on the list, just because we did not really have a great time upstate. Mostly because we stayed with some family that had a lot of cats, and I'm very highly allergic to cats. And it was kind of miserable the whole time. And then like all the things they wanted to do, I couldn't do pregnant. So that was fine. But then we went and stayed with some other family in Maine, and that was really fun. we went paddleboarding, and then we accidentally went too far, and then the tide went out, and then the company had to come pick us up in vans because we couldn't go back to where we started. And but it was really fun. We saw some like really beautiful scenery. We saw seals, like it was really cool. We also saw like northern Atlantic dolphins, not while we were paddleboarding, but that was on the same trip. So that was really cool. It was like on a ferry ride out to Monhegan Island, which is still where I want to retire someday. And then after Maine, we drove across into Canada and we went to Montreal for like 24 hours, and it was really awesome. And I love Montreal. I'm not a city person, but if I was to live in a city, I would pick Montreal. So that's my number 3 vacation, was our little baby moon. And then my number 2 vacation was visiting Mont Tremblant in Quebec. We did that as a family spring break in 2019. Is that 19? Yep. Okay. And that was super fun. We everybody else went skiing. I was really good at après ski. I'm not a very confident skier, so I decided to give the lift tickets that I bought for myself to my husband so he could ski all 3 days that we were there. It was really fun. I love Canada. And then on the way back from that, we also stopped in Montreal for a little bit. So I got to spend more time in my favorite city, so that was fun. And then my number 1 vacation, probably for the rest of my life, will be our honeymoon in Iceland. So that would have been in 2014. We spent 11 days in Iceland. We rented a car and drove the ring road around the entire island. So we didn't just get to see Reykjavik and the Golden Circle. We saw like so much. And so I loved, there are a couple places in like northern Iceland that we went to that I really loved. And that was just the greatest trip. I still have some yarn that I bought in Iceland.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I am saving for a project. I don't know what. I don't have a ton. Like I wasn't a knitter then. I only crocheted, and if I were to go back now, I would have bought like sweater quantities of everything. But I didn't. So I just have like a few so I could like make a cowl or something. I almost used some on my CQ sweater, but it's all worsted, but then I decided not to. So anyway, so that's my top vacation. But yay, those are fun.
That's a
I'm looking forward to traveling again when COVID's over.
Yeah. My top 3. I'm not a huge traveler, I don't think. It's just not I'm a homebody through and through. And when I go on little trips, I like much prefer shorter kind of staycations. So my number 3 is the first trip I ever took with Brandon. We went for my birthday to Baltimore, and he planned out everything, and it was so sweet and thoughtful. We stayed at a hotel in the inner harbor of Baltimore. We're like 45 minutes from Baltimore here, so it wasn't like a super long, far away trip. So we stayed in the inner harbor. He had all of the restaurants picked out where we were gonna go, and we went to our new favorite distillery that now we go back to all the time. It's called Sagamore Spirit, and they make delicious rye whiskey, which is my personal favorite of all the distilled spirits. Yeah, it was just so much fun. He took me to the National Aquarium, which I really wanted to do, even though he was like, it's kind of lame. But I freaking love looking at fish. It's so fun. Don't want to swim with them, but I could watch them in their little tanks all day. So that was my number 3. It was just really nice to go away with him and have him be so thoughtful in planning everything for us. So that's that one. My number 2 is my college senior spring break, which I went to Copper Mountain with our dad. And it was just the 2 of us, and it was so fun. I was over 21, so he didn't have to like sneak my après skis to me this time. And it was a blast. We just spent all day skiing, and then we got off the mountain and we spent all night talking about how great we were. We stayed at this kind of on mountain condo, and it was great because we had gone to Copper Mountain for the first time like a year or 2 earlier. And we just stayed at the worst hotel. It smelled like mustard through and through. It was just that location where we stayed at was awful. But we weren't there very often, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, the second time we did a much better job. I was better skier that time. The second time we went, I was able to stay out for longer and do harder trails. That was the first time I ever did a black diamond. Actually, it was also the first time I ever did a double black diamond. So yeah, it was really great. It was such a fun trip, and it was fun to have those memories of just the two of us. And then my number one top vacation was one Elizabeth already mentioned, which was Mont Tremblant in Quebec, which I could go on ski vacations alone for the rest of my life and never have a problem. So I skied on atomic skis for the first time. And this isn't a ski podcast, it's a knitting podcast, but atomics is the kind that like Lindsey uses. So it was really exciting. And I skied the best I ever had. And there was one day there was this big snowstorm and we were at the top of the mountain already. And so like once it cleared, me and dad and our younger sister Mary all like skied down from the top on this black diamond together on this fresh snow. It was the best. And then having everyone there for après ski was so fun. We went to this nice spa all together. Except Trevor and Elliot weren't there because someone had to watch the 4-year-old or 2 years. She was young then.
She was only 2.
Yeah. So that was fun. Yeah. Good ski vacation. The skiing was so fun. And then having everyone around hanging out together was really cool.
Yeah, I loved that trip. I want to do another one like it soon. I also love that like in the same vein of like usually being homebodies. Like,
yeah.
The vacations that we really liked are usually when we were like, you know, not staying in like big fancy hotels and resorts. They were like, you know, we were either in like an Airbnb or a condo or like a really small hotel. Like, yeah, they're all a little bit more introvert friendly vacations.
Very much so.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I guess that's all we have today. Thanks for watching if you're still here. You stayed past the end of the knitting content. But I guess we will
like our channel
for now.
Yes. Wait, you like the video, subscribe to the channel.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it. Comment on our video. Tell us what bugs you and what top 3s we should do. And how great.
Follow us on Instagram.
Yes, I'm at Grace Moser on Instagram and Ravelry.
I am at Cinnamon and Spice Knits on Instagram, and I am just EA Pike on Ravelry, and then together we are at Sister Knitting Society on Instagram. So I don't know. We should probably be a little bit more active on our Instagram.
Yeah, we'll be better.
We'll try to be better. No promises though. But I'm losing the light rapidly here, so I guess I should.
Me too.
It is very dark and still snowing outside. So cool. All right. Well, enjoy your week wherever you are, and we'll see you next week.